How you guys doing? It is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. And for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to get into a lot of the sports that happened yesterday because a lot did happen. And just to get into it, I'm going to first start with MLS. They had the tournament that it's kind of replacing the season right now. And in the final of that tournament, the Portland Timbers took on the Orlando City Soccer Club, and Portland Timbers were able to win 2-1 off of their last goal from Dario Zuparic in the 66th minute to give the Portland Timbers the win here. I mean, it's not the same as winning an actual MLS season, but considering they had this season to replace everything, Portland should be very, very proud of everything they've accomplished to get up to this point. They haven't lost. That's very, very big for them, and I have no idea how MLS is going to continue. I just really haven't been following up. But for right now, the Portland Timbers, as of right now, they deserve the title of the champs of the MLS for the 2020 shortened quarantine season. All right. Next, after that, I'm going to get into baseball because a lot did happen, and because it's Wednesday, I'm going to get into the standings, into what you guys should be looking out for. But first, I'm going to start out with the West. I'm going to start out from the games that kind of ended that ended later last night. The first one I'm going to bring up is between the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers, as these two teams battled it out to the end. But the San Diego Padres were able to squeeze out the win, as both teams are now 11-7. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, Ross Stripling would pick up his first loss of the season. He's now 3-1. Mookie Betts, the right fielder, would finish 1 for 3 with a walk. Cody Bellinger would finish, the Dodgers' first baseman would finish 0 for 4 on the night. Not much from the Dodgers, but then on the Padres side, Gary Richards would go 1 for 1, pick up the win, striking out 3, allowing 6 hits, only allowing 1 run in 6 innings. Fernando Tatis Jr., the Padres shortstop, would finish 2 for 5 with a run. Manny Machado, their elite third baseman, would finish 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run, as he did hit a grand slam to give the San Diego Padres the lead in the eventual win over the Dodgers. And with this, like I said, both of their records are now even at 11-7. Moving on to another NL West matchup, the Arizona Diamondbacks took on the Colorado Rockies last night. And the Colorado Rockies now continue to hold the lead over the National League West as they win this one 8-7. The Diamondbacks tried to score 5, and then they scored 5 in the ninth, but they still weren't able to completely come back. Good pitching from Kyle Freeland, as he only allowed 2 runs and struck out 2 in 7 innings pitched. He wouldn't pick up the win, as the Rockies would get the win in the 8th inning, as they scored 6 runs in the inning. For the Diamondbacks, their center fielder Starling Marte would finish 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run. He had a pretty good game. And looking at what happened for the Colorado Rockies, Charlie Blackmon, I think, would be the best hitter of the day. He would finish 3 for 4 with a RBI and 2 runs. He had an individually great hitting performance, but following this day, after 17 games, he is 1 on a 15-game hitting streak. And 2, he's batting .500 for the year. Normally, I didn't have him on the elite. If he keeps this up by the end of the season, I will consider him one of the elites, and I will talk about him as if he is one of the elites. He had an amazing performance last night, and it just continues. The Colorado Rockies, their baseman Nolan Arenado would finish 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as he hit his 4th home run of the season. And with this loss, the Diamondbacks fall to 7-11, and with this win, the Rockies are now 12-5 in the NL West. And going out to the last team of the NL West, the Giants were able to pick up a 10th inning win over the Houston Astros, 7-6, especially off of their game-winning single by Brandon Crawford to help give them the win. With this loss, the Astros now fall to 7-10. Jose Altuve, the Astros second baseman, would finish 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their third baseman, Alex Bregman, would finish 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run and 3 walks, as he hit his 4th home run of the season. And then going to San Francisco, Pence would finish 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs and a run, as he would hit his first home run of the season. Pretty big games from the rest, but it was Pence who drove in most of the runs for the Giants to help them get this edge, especially with hitting that home run in the 7th inning. That was much needed. Now I'm going to transition out to the AL West as the Texas Rangers hosted the Seattle Mariners and won. With this loss, the Mariners fall to 7-12, and the Rangers are now 7-9. Solak, their center fielder, would finish 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs on the day, as he would help he would help them get this very big win that they most definitely needed. And going out to the last matchup, the AL West leading Athletics were completely shut out by Dylan Bundy in what I thought was the best pitching performance of the night. Bundy picks up his 3rd win of the season as he struck out 10, only allowed 4 hits, and had 7 complete shutout innings. Great pitching performance from him. Matt Chapman, the ace third baseman, finished 0 for 3 with striking out twice. Looking to the Los Angeles A's, Mike Trout, their elite GOAT level center fielder, would finish 1 for 5. He struck out twice. Anthony Rendon, the Angels' elite third baseman, would finish 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season as his bat is starting to heat up for the Los Angeles Angels. Albert Pujols would finish 2 for 4 with a run. Shohei Ohtani would finish 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the Angels are now 7-11 as the A's now fall to 12-6. Now I'm going to push this out to the Central. First game of the night last night happened between the Kansas City Royals and the Cincinnati Reds. And the Cincinnati Reds were able to win on a walk-off hit. This time the walk-off hit came from Joey Votto as he doubled off the wall to give the Reds their first walk-off win of the season. Luis Castillo would strike out 5, only allow 1 run in the 6 innings that he pitched. Pretty big game for him. At the end, like I said, the Reds were able to win. They were able to come up victorious as they now are 8-9, and the Royals now fall to 7-11. And Joey Votto finished 2 for 4 with an RBI. Big game for him. Of course, staying out in the AL Central, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Chicago White Sox and they lost. The White Sox were able to beat them 8-4. The Tigers dropped to 9-6, and the White Sox are now 9-9. Gio Gonzalez would only allow 2 earned runs in his almost 5 innings pitched. Going on to the Tigers just to show what they were going on. Miguel Cabrera finished 0 for 4. Not much going on that went well. The only player on their team that really brought in the runs was their catcher, Austin Romine, who finished 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 2nd home run of the season. For the Chicago White Sox, Eloy Jimenez would hit his 4th home run of the season as the left fielder finished 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run. Additionally, Jose Abreu would finish 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs in a big game for him. And with this win, I mean, the White Sox are still playing incredibly strong. And then going out to another AL-NL Central matchup, the Minnesota Twins took on the Milwaukee Brewers. And in this game, the Brewers were able to come up victorious at home 6-4 after scoring 2 runs in the 8th to eventually give them the win. For the Minnesota Twins, Jorge Polanco would finish 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run for the day. Eddie Rosario would finish 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Byron Buxton would finish 3 for 4 as well. And then looking to the Milwaukee side, their center fielder, Avisail Garcia would finish 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. Their elite left fielder Christian Yelich would finish 1 for 4 with a run. And with this win, the Brewers are now 7-8 as the AL Central leading Twins now fall to 11-7. Yet another AL-NL Central matchup, the rematch of the 2016 World Series, as the Cubs beat the Indians 7-1 last night, being led by John Lester to pick up his 2nd win of the season. He would strike out 4, allow only 1 run in 6 innings as the Cubs were able to pull forward. For the Cleveland Indians, Francisco Lindor, their elite shortstop, would finish 1 for 3 with a run on the day. It just simply wasn't enough as he had the only run of the day. For the Chicago Cubs, their elite third baseman Chris Bryant would finish 1 for 3 with a run and a walk. Their elite shortstop Javi Baez would finish 2 for 5 with a run. And with this win, the Cubs are now 11-3, and they currently lead the NL Central as the Indians are now 10-8. Still a couple games out from the leading Minnesota Twins in a moment where they kind of really needed the win, but I digress. And also the St. Louis Cardinals were slated to play against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but for some, but I mean, because of COVID, they didn't play, and I mean, that's completely fair. And then, of course, going out to the NL East to finish it all out. One game that happened last night happened between the Washington Nationals and the New York Mets. Max Scherzer picked up his first win of the season against Rick Porcello. He tossed 6 innings, allowed only 1 run, struck out 7. Going out to the New York Mets, I mean, Pete Alonso really didn't play. Not much of a big performance. The only RBI would come from their second baseman, Luis Guillorme. For the Washington Nationals, Juan Soto, their left fielder, would finish 0 for 4. Their designated hitter, Howie Kendrick, would finish 3 for 4 with a run on the day. Much needed win for the Nationals, as they are now 6-7 in the NL East, and the Mets are now 7-11. Kind of staying out with the teams that are in the NL East. Going to the NL-AL matchups, but first I'm going to go into Tampa Bay and Boston before I get into those. Tampa Bay went to Fenway and they won 8-2. They've won 10 of their last 11 games in Fenway. The Red Sox now fall to 6-11. They just haven't been able to get a lot of it going. And now the Tampa Bay Rays are now 10-8. Following Diaz Diaz going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run for him. Just a lot of good hitting that came up late. I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays scored 7 runs in the 7th. So, I mean, they scored 6 runs in the 7th, to give them the lead, to give them the edge, and to give them the win over Boston. They're now sitting at 10-8. They're still within solid striking distance of the New York Yankees. Speaking of the New York Yankees, they were able to pull off a really big win at home as the AL East leading New York Yankees hosted the NL East leading Atlanta Braves. They were able to score 8 of their 9 runs in the first 5 innings. The Braves came back, but it simply wasn't enough. It was 9-6 at the end of the day. For the Atlanta Braves, their first baseman, Freddie Freeman, would finish 1 for 4 with a run on the day. And for the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge, their elite right fielder, would finish 1 for 2 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 9th home run of the season. Luke Voit would hit his 5th home run of the season as he went 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run. Gleyber Torres, their elite shortstop, would finish 0 for 2 with the run as he walked twice. And with this win, the Yankees are now 11-6 and the Braves now fall to 11-8. Moving to yet another matchup that happened in the NL East between the Miami Marlins and the Tampa Bay Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were able to win their very first game playing in the Buffalo Stadium. Bo Bichette would be the player to hit their very first home run in that stadium. He went 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. As he had a 3-run home run in the 6th, that would eventually give him the edge. They would be able to overtake the Miami Marlins. Hyunjin Ryu also tossed the gem as he pitched 6 full innings, striking out 7, only allowing 2 hits and allowing 1 run. With this loss, the Marlins now fall to 7-4, but they are still tied for the lead in the NL East with the Atlanta Braves. And with this win, the Blue Jays are now 6-8 in the AL East. And now moving out to one of the better games of the night and where I think the play of the night came. The Orioles beat the Philadelphia Phillies 10-9 in 10 innings yesterday. For the Phillies, Rhys Hoskins, their first baseman, finished 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their elite right fielder, Bryce Harper, would finish 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 4th home run of the season in the 8th inning. And then for the Baltimore Orioles, one of their big hitters would be their designated hitter, Renato Nunez, who would eventually go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run for the day. Big win for the Orioles. And the big play of the game would go to their outfielder, Austin Hayes, who in the top of the 10th inning would hit an inside-the-park home run for his first home run of the day. And because it's the 10th inning, he had a runner on base. And with that, they were able to get a very, 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 very big win. Very big momentum winner. And they are now sitting above 500 again as they are now 8-7 in the AL East. So that's what baseball is looking like as of right now. That's what happened yesterday. Some very, very, very big games. As I'm looking towards the matchups that are going to be played today. Starting off, the 9-9 White Sox are going to face off against the 9-6 Detroit Tigers at 1 o'clock, as they're 2 of the top teams in the NL Central or in the AL Central. Additionally, a rematch of the 2016 World Series is going to happen as the 11-3 Chicago Cubs, led by Kyle Hendricks, who's tossed a couple gems. They're going to face off against the 10-8 Cleveland Indians, probably going to change their name sometime soon, but led by Carlos Carrasco, who's 2-1 currently at the moment, who's still pitching and who's pitching incredibly well this season. The Braves take on the Yankees as the Braves are the AL leaders, the co-NL leaders. I mean, and the Yankees are the AL leaders. Huascar Inoa, a young pitcher for the Braves, is going to start, as Tanaka is going to start for the Yankees. Kent Maeda is going to make a start for the Twins. They face off against Lauer and the Brewers. Zach Greinke is going to make yet another start for the Astros as they face off against Trevor Cahill of the San Francisco Giants. Former Cy Young Blake Snell is going to take the mound as the Rays take on the Red Sox today. And the Padres take on the Dodgers as they're both fighting for NL West leader, as they're trying to fight for a chance to at least get within a game closer of the Rockies as Zach Davies takes on Los Angeles Dodger pitcher Tony Gonsolin. And that's what baseball is looking like as of right now, as of Wednesday. And as of right, I'm gonna take you into the standings just to show you what the whole league is looking like, especially as of right now, as of Wednesday. In the AL East, the Yankees currently have the lead as they are 11-6. A game and a half behind them are the 10-8 Tampa Bay Rays. Half a game behind them are the 8-7 Baltimore Orioles, who are 2 games behind the Yankees. A game and a half behind the Orioles are the 6-8 Toronto Blue Jays, who are 3.5 games behind the Yankees. And a game and a half behind them in last place are the 6-11 Boston Red Sox, who are 5 games behind the 11-6 Yankees. Going to the AL Central is the Minnesota Twins sitting by themselves at 11-7. Half a game behind them are the Detroit Tigers, who are half a game up in the wild card. Half a game behind them are the 10-8 Cleveland Indians, who are a full game behind the Twins. A game behind the Indians are the 9-9 Chicago White Sox, who are 2 games behind the Twins. And following them, 2 games behind them, are the 7-11 Kansas City Royals, who are sitting in last, 4 games behind the Minnesota Twins. Moving out to the AL West, it's the Oakland A's leading out by themselves. They're 12-6. 4 games behind them are the 7-9 Texas Rangers. Half a game behind them are the 7-10 Houston Astros, who are 4.5 games behind the A's. Half a game behind them are the 7-11 Los Angeles Angels, who are 5 games behind the Oakland A's. And in last place, half a game behind the LA Angels, are the 7-12 Seattle Mariners, who are 5.5 games behind. Going out to the NL East, the Miami Marlins at 7-4 and the Atlanta Braves at 11-8 are both tied for the best record. They're both tied at the top of the NL East. Then following them, 2 games behind the Braves are the 6-7 Washington Nationals, who are 2 games behind both those, like I said. Half a game behind the Nationals are the 5-7 Phillies, who are 2.5 games behind the Marlins and the Braves. And a game behind the Phillies are the 7-11 New York Mets, who are 3.5 games behind the Marlins and the Braves. In the NL Central, it's the Cubs sitting by themselves at 11-3. 4.5 games behind them are the 8-9 Cincinnati Reds, the 7-8 Milwaukee Brewers, and the 2-3 St. Louis Cardinals. And sitting in dead last in the NL Central, 9 games behind the Cubs, are the 3-13 Pittsburgh Pirates, who are 4.5 games behind the 3 teams I just mentioned. And last but not least, sitting in the NL West is the Colorado Rockies, sitting at 12-5. A game and a half behind the Rockies are the 11-7 Los Angeles Dodgers and the 11-7 San Diego Padres. 3.5 games behind them are the San Francisco Giants, who are 8-11, and half a game behind them are the 7-11 Arizona Diamondbacks. So that is what baseball is looking like right now, especially with the games going on. And right now I'm going to transition to the WNBA as the Las Vegas Aces beat the Indiana Fever 98-79 last night. Andrew McCoughtry, the forward from Vegas, finished with 20 points. Big games for her. And last night, the Minnesota Lynx also beat the Washington Mystics 68-48, holding them to 4 points in the fourth quarter. Sylvia Fowles, the center, would finish the game with 16 points and 13 rebounds. Big game as the Lynx are now 6-2. And the last game of the night happened between the LA Sparks and the New York Liberty as Raquina Williams led the LA Sparks with 17 points to a 93-78 win, and they're now sitting at 5-3 as the Liberty they now sit with a 1-7 record, the worst record in the WNBA. Now transitioning to the NBA bubble, first game of the night I'm going to cover is between the Brooklyn Nets and the Orlando Magic. Both these teams have already clinched a playoff spot. They're the 7 and 8 seeds, but not much playing going on because there's not much seeding left to be done. The big performance for the Magic would come from their forward Wes Iwundu, who would finish with 18 points on the night in a big game, kind of coming up for the team, but he would come up just a bit short. For the Brooklyn Nets, It would be Tyler Johnson with 14. It would be Timothy Luwawu-Cabarro. Timothy, I don't know if I got it wrong. I'm sorry. He finished with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and he helped the Brooklyn Nets get a win that was much better. And they also had big performance from Jeremiah Martin, their point guard off the bench, who also scored 24. Big performance from him. Now moving on to Houston and San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs beat the Rockets 123 to 105 yesterday. Russell Westbrook finished the game with 20 points. Harden didn't play because he was rested for the San Antonio. He was resting. He was resting. He was trying to get some rest. DeMar DeRozan finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Additionally, Keldon Johnson added 24 points and 11 rebounds off the bench to help the Spurs get a much-needed win over the Rockets as they are still competing, trying to get a spot in the playoffs as they, along with the Grizzlies and the Suns, are half a game behind the 8th-place Trailblazers right now. But it was a much-needed win for the Spurs to keep their playoff hopes alive. Moving on to one of those other teams, the Phoenix Suns are now 7-0 in the bubble after beating the Philadelphia 76ers 130 to 117 last night. Alec Burks would be the big performer for the 76ers as he added 23 points. Ben Simmons is still injured and Joel Embiid didn't play. Going out to the Phoenix Suns, Michael Bridges would finish with 24 points. He's been a low-key performer for them ever since they've started back up. Devin Booker would once again put on a show. He would finish with 35 points with 11 points, or shooting 11 for 24 from the field, 11 for 12 from the free throw line. And I think he probably had he had a great poster of the night. He finished with 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists, willing the Suns to yet another win. And with this win, after being down by 4 games, I'm pretty sure at the start, they are now half a game behind the 8th place Portland Trailblazers with 1 more game to play and a very good shot of making the playoffs. And following them, the Boston Celtics beat the Memphis Grizzlies 122 to 107 last night. Ja Morant, the Grizzlies' elite point guard, finished with 26 points and 13 assists. Good game of the night for him as he played a full 42 minutes. Going to the Celtics, looking to see what's going on over there. Kemba Walker, their elite point guard, would finish with 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 7 for 10 from the field. Jason Tatum, their elite forward, would finish with 29 points, 6 rebounds, with shooting 10 for 13 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 5 from the line. Great game, great performance for him as the Celtics were able. They still kind of hold on to their spot, but the Grizzlies are no longer in 8th place as the Trailblazers overtook them following this loss. This is a game they definitely needed to win. And pulling up to, I think, of course, to the performance of the night, but I'll go around it and I'll get to it in a second. The Portland Trailblazers beat the Dallas Mavericks 134 to 131 to jump into that 8th place spot in the West. A spot they've been chasing for a bit, and they've finally done it. For the Dallas Mavericks, their elite shooting guard, Luka Doncic, would finish with 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting 8 for 19 from the field, 2 for 8 from the three-point line, 7 for 9 from the line. Their biggest performance would come from Kristaps Porzingis, their power forward, who would have 36 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, shooting 12 for 17 from the field, 7 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the line. But of course, the Trailblazers won that game. Carmelo Anthony, the future Hall of Famer, finished with 26 points, 8 rebounds, shooting 10 for 17 from the field. The biggest performance of the night would come from their point guard, Damian Lillard, who would go on to score 61 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists, going with back-to-back 50-point games. And Damian Lillard is really angry. He's very mad, and you can definitely see it in his game. He finished 17 for 32 from the field. Let me mind you, when Kobe scored 60 points, he took 50 shots. He went 17 for 32, shot 9 for 17 for 3, and made all 18. All 18 of his free throws were made this night. And with this win, the Trailblazers are sitting by themselves in 8th place as the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs are all half a game behind them, and it looks as they've put themselves in prime position for the playoff game to determine who gets that 8th place seed, to see who gets to go up against the Lakers first round. I'm going on to the next round. Going to the next game, I mean. The Sacramento Kings beat the New Orleans Pelicans 112 to 106 last night. Lonzo Ball would be the big performer with 16 points and 4 assists as the starter, and Jolie Okafor would add in 21 points and 4 rebounds in 26 minutes off the bench. For the Sacramento Kings, it would be Harrison Barnes who had 25 points for himself, 8 rebounds. Harry Giles would score 12 points in 25 minutes, along with 11 rebounds as the Sacramento Kings grab that win. And both teams are basically out of the playoffs, but it was just a good game. I mean, it was just a game to be played. Another game that happened last night happened between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Washington Wizards, as the Bucks beat the Wizards by 13, despite Giannis getting ejected in the second quarter for headbutting Mo Wagner. That was that whole situation. I'm not going to speak on that one. But Rui Hachimura would be the big performer for the Washington Wizards as he scored 20 points. He shot 6 for 18 from the field, but he was still getting it done, still scoring where he needed to. Ish Smith would also add in 19 points off the bench. Going to the Bucks, their big performer would be Brook Lopez with 24 points in 23 minutes, shooting 9 for 11 from the field. Frank Mason III would also add in 23 points off the bench, and Thanasis Antetokounmpo would also add in 8 points, while his brother was literally thrown out the game for headbutting a dude. But with this win, the Bucks are still sitting at the top. Nothing's really happening to them. But just to get into what's going on with basketball, that was Tuesday. Of course, in this last week of basketball, with a lot of the playoff spots wrapped up, there's still teams that are kind of fighting for playoff positioning. Two of the teams that are fighting for them are the Indiana Pacers and the Houston Rockets. They're gonna face off on NBA TV at 4:00 because they're still locked in where they are. Where winning a game here definitely will be big. And at 9:00, the Clippers are gonna face off against the Nuggets on ESPN at 9:00. And many people are unaware of this. The Clippers, they're in second place. The Nuggets are in third. There's only a game and a half of separation between the two. If the Nuggets can somehow, there's still a realm of possibility where the Nuggets can take that 2 seed, and the Clippers haven't officially clinched that 2 seed yet because I think both teams still have 2 games to play. But I'm not completely sure. Don't take my word for it. But that's what the NBA is looking like right now. Transitioning to hockey with the Stanley Cup playoffs. First off, last night, the Lightning beat the Blue Jackets in 5 overtimes. 8 periods were played. I know the Columbus Blue Jackets goalie would go on to set a record. Their goalie, Jonas Korpisalo would save 85 shots. 85 shots in this game. They still lost, but that's still an amazing game for him. I can't believe he did that. Big performance from the Tampa Bay Lightning came from their center, Braden Point, who had 2 goals on the night. And now the 2 seed Tampa Bay Lightning are taking the lead over the 7 seed Columbus Blue Jackets for their first game. Moving out to the second game, moving out to another game from this night, the Calgary Flames took on the Dallas Stars and won 3-2. Big performance of the game would go to Calgary center Dylan Dube. I have no idea. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but he had 2 goals on the night, and also their goalie Talbot would have 24 saves to help them get the win. With this series, the 6 seed Calgary Flames are now leading over the 3 seed Dallas Stars. And the last game of the night happened as the Las Vegas Golden Knights scored all 4 of their goals in the second and third period to give them the win. Their big performance would come from their right wing, Riley Smith. He would finish with 2 goals and an assist as they're able to get the lead and get the advantage over the Blackhawks. And now the number 1 seed Vegas Knights have a 1-0 series lead going into game 2. Just to give you a hint, just to give you a glimpse into what to look for in today's hockey. The first game today's going to happen is between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Boston Bruins. I imagine they're supposed to start yesterday, but considering one of the games went to 8 periods and 5 one game went to 5 overtimes, I imagine they were unable to play, so they just scheduled it for before noon today. In this series, the Carolina Hurricanes are the 5 seed and the Boston Bruins are the 4 seed. The next game of the night is going to be the next game of the day. It's going to be at 3:00 as the New York Islanders take on the Capitals. The Islanders are the 6 seed and the Capitals are the 3 seed as they face off in their game 1. At 5:30, the 7 seed Coyotes are going to face off against the 2 seed Colorado Avalanche as they face off at 5:30 on NBC Sports. Following them at 8:00. the Montreal Canadiens, who are sitting in the 8th seed, are going to face off against the first seed Flyers in their first game of the series. And the last game of the night at 10:30 is going to happen between the Vancouver Canucks and the St. Louis Blues. And this is the 4-5 matchup that a lot of people have been waiting for. And with this, this happens at 10:30. So this is what's going on with the Stanley Cup playoff. And with everything, I really thank you for hearing me out for all 30 minutes of this. With that said, this is The Elite. I'm James Sims. Thanks for hearing my piece. Peace out.